The wrestling world just got flipped upside down, and what happened behind closed doors after Monday Night Raw might change everything you thought you knew about the Bloodline saga. Triple H called an emergency meeting that nobody saw coming, and the names that walked through that door will make your jaw drop. Before we dive into this bombshell that's shaking the entire WWE universe to its core, hit that subscribe button right now because you won't want to miss a single update on this explosive situation. Monday Night Raw delivered a moment that sent shockwaves through every wrestling fan watching when Vision turned his back on the tribal chief in the most brutal fashion imaginable. The arena erupted in disbelief as the man everyone thought was Roman Reigns' most loyal soldier delivered a devastating blow that left the head of the table laid out in the center of the ring. The crowd was on their feet screaming as Vision stood over Reigns with a microphone in hand, declaring that the tribal chief's reign of terror was officially over. This wasn't just a simple attack or a momentary lapse in judgment. This was calculated, personal, and years in the making, according to Vision's passionate promo that followed the assault. The cameras were supposed to cut away after Raw went off the air, but something far more significant was unfolding backstage that would change the trajectory of multiple storylines heading into the biggest events of the year. Production staff and crew members began whispering about unusual activity near Triple H's office as several high-profile superstars were seen making their way down the corridor in rapid succession. Security was tightened around that specific area, and only essential personnel were allowed anywhere near the executive wing of the building. Something major was clearly going down, and the energy backstage shifted from the usual post-show atmosphere to something far more intense and secretive. Roman Reigns was the first to arrive at Triple H's office, and eyewitnesses say the tribal chief looked absolutely livid as he stormed through the hallway with Paul Heyman struggling to keep pace behind him. Reigns didn't acknowledge anyone as he passed by, and his focus was laser sharp on getting answers about what just transpired in that ring. The door to Triple H's office swung open and Reigns disappeared inside without a word, leaving everyone outside wondering what kind of conversation was about to take place. Heyman remained outside the door standing guard like he always does when his tribal chief needs to handle business privately. What happened next is what nobody could have predicted in a million years. Seth Rollins arrived at Triple H's office roughly 10 minutes after Roman Reigns entered, and the visual of the architect walking toward the same room where his former Shield brother was currently meeting with the chief content officer sent everyone into speculation overdrive. Rollins and Reigns have had one of the most complicated relationships in WWE history, going from brothers in arms to bitter enemies and back again multiple times over the years. Their rivalry has produced some of the most memorable matches and moments in recent WWE history, and the idea of them being in the same room together, especially after what just happened with Vision, seemed almost impossible. Sources close to the situation reveal that Triple H personally requested both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins to meet with him immediately following the show, and neither superstar was given much information about why their presence was required. The game has been making bold moves ever since taking over creative control of WWE, and this meeting appeared to be another example of his willingness to bring together people who have every reason to stay apart. Triple H has always been known for his strategic mind and his ability to see the bigger picture when it comes to storytelling in business, and whatever he had planned for this meeting was clearly something he felt couldn't wait another moment. The meeting lasted for approximately 45 minutes according to multiple sources who were monitoring the situation from outside the office. During that time, no one entered or exited, and the door remained firmly closed, shutting out any possibility of eavesdropping or interruption. Production crew members who were packing up equipment in nearby areas reported hearing raised voices at certain points, but nothing clear enough to make out specific words or details. The tension was apparently thick enough that even people who weren't in the room could feel the weight of whatever discussion was taking place behind that closed door. When the door finally opened, it was Seth Rollins who emerged first, and his expression was difficult to read as he walked past the small group of people who had gathered hoping to catch a glimpse of what went down. Rollins didn't stop to answer any questions, and he moved quickly toward the parking lot area where his vehicle was waiting. Paul Heyman stepped into the office briefly after Rollins left, presumably to check on Roman Reigns before the tribal chief would make his own exit. The wise man's face showed concern mixed with what appeared to be contemplation, as if he was processing information that went against everything he thought he knew. Roman Reigns finally stepped out of Triple H's office, and the look on his face told a story that words couldn't quite capture. The tribal chief has always carried himself with supreme confidence and an aura of invincibility, but in that moment there was something different in his demeanor. He wasn't defeated, but he also wasn't the same untouchable figure who had walked into that office less than an hour earlier. Reigns made eye contact with a few backstage personnel as he walked by, and there was an intensity there that suggested whatever was discussed in that meeting had major implications for everyone involved. Triple H emerged last from his office and immediately began speaking with several members of his creative team who had been waiting for him to wrap up the meeting. The chief content officer appeared satisfied with how things went down based on his body language and the way he was engaging with his staff about upcoming plans. Triple H has built his reputation on being able to navigate complex situations and bring together conflicting personalities for the greater good of the business, and this meeting seemed to be another example of that ability in action. Now here's where things get really interesting and why this meeting matters so much for the future of WWE programming. Multiple insiders are reporting that Triple H presented both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins with a proposal that could fundamentally alter the landscape of both Raw and SmackDown moving forward. The proposal allegedly involves a temporary alliance between the two former Shield members to deal with a threat that goes beyond their personal issues and rivalries. Vision's betrayal wasn't just an isolated incident according to the information shared in that meeting, but rather the first move in a much larger plan that involves several other superstars who are looking to completely dismantle the existing power structure in WWE. The idea of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins working together again, even temporarily, is something that will divide the WWE universe right down the middle. These two men have been through everything together and against each other over the years, and their chemistry is undeniable whether they're allies or enemies. Triple H reportedly made it clear that neither superstar has to like each other or even trust each other, but they need to recognize that what's coming is bigger than their personal grudges. The chief content officer laid out evidence and information during that meeting that apparently made it impossible for either Reigns or Rollins to deny the severity of the situation. Vision's betrayal was shocking enough on its own, but what Triple H allegedly revealed in that meeting suggests that the attack was coordinated with at least 3 other main roster talents who are planning their own moves in the coming weeks. The goal, according to the information presented, is to create chaos across both brands and take advantage of the confusion to seize power and position themselves as the new faces of WWE. This group has apparently been planning their moves for months, waiting for the perfect moment to strike when neither Reigns nor any other top star would see it coming. Roman Reigns reportedly listened to everything Triple H had to say before asking pointed questions about who specifically is involved in this plot and what kind of timeline they're working with. The tribal chief has always been protective of his position at the top of WWE, and the idea that multiple people are conspiring against him clearly didn't sit well. However, Reigns also had to acknowledge that handling this situation alone might not be possible, especially if the group is as coordinated and prepared as Triple H suggested. The tribal chief's pride has often been both his greatest strength and his biggest weakness, and this meeting apparently forced him to confront that reality head-on. Seth Rollins approached the situation from a different angle, according to sources familiar with the discussion. The architect has always been more willing to adapt and change strategies based on new information, and he reportedly saw the logic in Triple H's proposal almost immediately. Rollins asked about the specifics of what this alliance would look like and what guarantees would be in place to prevent either him or Reigns from turning on each other at an inopportune moment. Triple H allegedly assured both men that he would personally oversee the situation and that there would be clear boundaries and objectives established before anything moves forward. The meeting concluded with both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins agreeing to consider Triple H's proposal and provide their final answers within the next 48 hours. Neither superstar committed to anything definitive in that moment, but the fact that they both sat through the entire meeting and listened to what the chief content officer had to say speaks volumes about how seriously they're taking this situation. Triple H reportedly told both men that he understands this is a difficult decision, but that time is not on their side and they need to act quickly before Vision and his allies make their next move. What makes this situation even more compelling is the potential ripple effect it could have across the entire WWE roster. If Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins do agree to work together even temporarily, it will force every other superstar to pick a side or risk getting caught in the crossfire. The Bloodlines dynamic has already been complicated by Vision's betrayal, and adding Rollins into the mix will create even more questions about loyalty and trust. Meanwhile, other factions and alliances will have to decide whether to stay neutral or use the chaos as an opportunity to advance their own agendas. The WWE Universe has been clamoring for unpredictable storytelling and fresh matchups for years, and this situation has the potential to deliver both in ways that few could have imagined. Triple H has shown since taking over creative that he's willing to take risks and trust the talent to deliver when given the right platform and creative direction. This meeting and the proposal that came from it represents another example of his vision for where WWE should be heading and how to create compelling television that keeps fans engaged week after week. Paul Heyman's role in all of this cannot be overlooked either, as the wise man will undoubtedly have strong opinions about whether Roman Reigns should align himself with Seth Rollins even temporarily. Heyman has been the tribal chief's most trusted advisor for years, and his counsel has helped guide Reigns to unprecedented success and dominance. However, this situation presents variables that even Heyman might struggle to account for, and his advice in the coming days will be crucial to how Reigns ultimately decides to proceed. The timing of Vision's betrayal and this subsequent meeting also raises questions about whether Triple H had advanced knowledge of what was going to happen. Some backstage observers believe that the chief content officer may have been aware of Vision's plans and allowed them to play out specifically to create the circumstances needed to bring Reigns and Rollins together. Others argue that Triple H was caught just as off guard as everyone else, but quickly saw an opportunity to turn a negative situation into something that could benefit the overall product. Either way, the meeting that took place after Raw demonstrates that Triple H is actively involved in shaping the direction of WWE programming in real time. Looking ahead to the next several weeks and months, the fallout from this meeting will likely dominate WWE television across both brands. Every promo, every match, and every backstage segment will be viewed through the lens of who knows what and who's aligned with whom. The element of surprise and unpredictability that has been somewhat missing from WWE programming in recent years could come roaring back if this storyline is executed properly. Fans will be glued to their screens trying to spot clues and hints about what's coming next, and that kind of engagement is exactly what WWE needs to maintain and grow its audience. The wrestling business has always been about creating moments that fans will remember and talk about for years to come, and the secret meeting between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Triple H has all the hallmarks of being one of those moments. The fact that it happened behind closed doors only adds to the mystique and intrigue surrounding what was discussed and what decisions were made. As more details inevitably leak out in the coming days, the speculation and debate among fans will reach fever pitch levels, creating organic buzz that money can't buy. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss any updates on this developing story, because things are about to get absolutely wild in WWE and you'll want to be here for every twist and turn that's coming our way.